Reparations when?
Now!
Reparations now! We come from a long legacy of fighters. We're going to organize. We're going to bring up a new generation that cannot, will not be stopped.
Activist and policy innovator Robin Ruth Simmons has emerged as a leader in both the local and national fight for reparations. The movement for reparations has been alive in America since the end of slavery. It is a journey that seeks justice through repair for harms that still impact the descendants of those kept in bondage in our country. It is deeply emotional work. It is intergenerational work, and it is a torch that burns bright as a symbol of the continued fight for Black justice in a nation built off the backs of enslaved Africans. Today, we connect with thought leaders, organizers, and change makers behind the modern movement for reparations. I am Jerika Richardson with the National Urban League, and this is Justice Now.
There is no presidential executive order that can sign away our humanity. Who's here on a divine assignment? This isn't a job. Reparations now!
Reparations now!
This was a block that I grew up on. A lot has changed. You can see the homes have been improved and developed. There are still families that live on this block from when I was a child. These two homes, as you can see, they're new construction. And you can see this is a beautiful home. These types of homes are being replaced with our existing housing stock, and these will never be affordable. This home is maybe near $1 million in a community that has a average income of $50,000 a year. Gentrification is happening. What you'll notice here on the west end of the 5th Ward is even the environmental assets are fewer, the trees are less mature, the infrastructure is inferior. We do not have a concentrated business district, and less of the businesses that we need to survive on, like healthy food. And that's why you'll see urban gardens, and like at our church we have the big community garden there, because we're trying to solve for not having access to healthy food and whole foods and produce.
I went to Evanston to learn more about the first municipal taxpayer-funded reparations program in the country. The history of Robin's community is rich, and the influence of her work has rippled through the national and global reparations movement. Why is reparations so important?
Reparations is my life's work. It is the only path to our repair, our complete liberation, and it is the most appropriate way for governments to respond to the crimes against the humanity that we have experienced here. First Repair is a non-for-profit based here in Evanston's 5th Ward that is informing local reparations nationally. The harmed community should lead and prescribe what redress is. Number one, best practice. We began dispersing our reparations benefits. They are direct benefits. They're $25,000. To date, we have dispersed about $6,200,000 in direct benefits. Reparations is becoming common sense and commonplace. It is no longer fringe. It is a real discussion based in truth, based in justice, and we are becoming more and more educated and informed on what reparations is. The local initiatives are inspired by the federal conversation, inspired by HR 40. In some cases, HR 40 is actually the template that's used, particularly in at least two of the state initiatives, pretty much models HR 40. And so it's not an either or, it is a both and it is likely going to be a local to national victory that is sure to come for reparations. NARC, the National African American Reparations Commission, convened by Dr. Ron Daniels. I'm very proud to be a commissioner there that is advancing the demand for reparations and for HR 40.
And to see the really intersections and really how interconnected you all are. You mentioned Dr. Ron Daniels working on the global level, working on the national level, but also on the state level in New York.
Yeah.
On a local commission. And
absolutely.
So it is just great to see folks in the movement working hand in hand and all of these things. What do you see as the future of reparations?
Well, I see more local efforts actually getting to tangible outcome, and I am seeing more institutions begin to examine themselves and model redress. It is happening in southern municipalities and states like New York, California, and Illinois as we all continue towards that North Star of a federal bill. But I do think that these outcomes and these models and proving the case and all of the narrative work that's happening will get us to a federal response. We have to recognize that we're a part of a continuum, that we are building on the legacy of work of our ancestors and our elders, and that this is our leg of the work, and the work will continue, but we will not get there if we stop. We cannot stop. We must rest, but we cannot stop. If you can see it in a predominantly white and affluent community in Evanston, Illinois, then we can attain it in the United States Congress.
Faith grows here. This is really amazing.
Because we own this land, we were able to partner with an organization, Evanston Grows, to create this community garden. And this produce, this is available to community members that are in need. And this is why reparations is to be prescribed and determined by us. We know what we need.
Right, and each community is different. They have different needs.
Each community is different. And that's why there's no one blueprint. Some folks say, oh, you're the model. No, we're not the model. We're inspiration. There are some best practices that should be considered, but each community has its own history with being harmed from the government or institution. Even this Pan-African flag waving here in the air is an example of a community, not just our Black community, but it takes a city council vote. So as much as I have talked about our Black village, it still takes a city council vote. And so we have a diverse community with progressive values that support these types of initiatives, including the Pan-African flag being raised always. So this isn't a Juneteenth holiday occasion. This is 365 days a year, 24/7. The Pan-African flag is raised to represent our collective and diverse Black community, honor our goals for redress, and also bring remembrance to our rich history that's here.
Yes, we rise from the dust. Yes, we rise from the root. Yes, we rise. Reparations, yeah, you know we rise.
The king of rain sit-ins, protest, boycott. I played in the toy box, listening to Gil Scott, then Jill Scott. Bob saying, don't give up the fight.
How we gonna make reparations rise? Agitate, educate, organize. How we gonna make reparations rise? Agitate, educate, organize.
Often remembered as a bastion of freedom in the liberal North, New York has a long history of slavery. Today, it is just one of 2 states that has commissioned an inquiry into the role slavery played historically and the impact it still has on Black Americans living there.
We are grateful that you are here tonight. Today's hearing is about hearing your important testimonies, your evidence of enduring harms.
The chair of New York's commission, Dr. Seanelle Hawkins, is also the president and CEO of the Urban League of Rochester.
I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to this commission. Dr. Hawkins' dual role as chair and president and CEO of the Urban League of Rochester powerfully demonstrates the importance of connecting policy leadership with community-rooted action.
I connected with Dr. Hawkins at New York City's African Burial Ground. Here, over 15,000 free and enslaved Black bodies were buried during the 200 years that the city had an active slave trade. The African burial grounds are sacred, and the history can be felt in the air.
Dr. Hawkins, it's so good to see you.
So good to be with you.
What a lovely place.
This is powerful.
So much history here.
And it just speaks to what we do, right? We just walk by like this didn't happen, but this happened, and We need to talk about this. This is a conversation that has to continue because there's still present day harms. And we often forget about all of the bodies that endured so much harm. And I was looking at one of the walls and there was a young body between 5 and 7. And I think about my own daughter, she's 7, that this could have been her and that their bodies were found years later. This humanizes everything just to make people understand that this happened. To see this photo of a body, a child's body. This is heavy, Jerika. It just really speaks to how important our work is as a commission, that we must do this for these children, for our ancestors. We must do it for present day children.
Really tell us how the commission operates, and really what its main task is.
Yeah, there's a bill that established a commission, and there's some task force. One, we need to explore the enduring harms of slavery and what was the impact, particularly to enslaved African Americans and their descendants in New York State. When we talk about what reparations is, it's so much more than just cash and compensation. There could be much more that could benefit everybody.
What are those things?
So let's just talk about gentrification and redlining. That we're looking at communities and how communities have been harmed. The most powerful piece about this is the voice of the community, because once we provide the remedies, it's going to be up to New Yorkers to make sure that those remedies are now actualized. That whether it's programs, whether it's policy change work, whether it's addressing the harms of redlining, whatever that work is, or even if it's compensation, it's going to be up to the community to champion the work of the commission.
So the work really of repair is generational.
It is generational. And we've seen that in our public hearings. We've seen that the work is generational. You'll hear young voices and elder voices speaking about the importance of this work and why New York must do something, because the impact is still very real.
We want to create this space to be a space that honors truth, a space that honors healing, and most importantly, a space that honors change. So thank you for being here.
My family's land, history, everything was snatched and taken from them.
Reparations are not a handout. Reparations are a necessary correction, a moral obligation.
The main purpose of education is to be a better handler of power. And when you have power, you don't ask for nothing, you take it.
We are one people. We stronger together as a fist.
The African Burial Ground Monument represents the connection between the Africans brought to America during the transatlantic slave trade and our homeland on the continent of Africa. Built to echo the ships that brought us here, the monument holds in it the energy of the ancestors. Inside, the door of no return, emblematic of the slave trading forts throughout West Africa, beckons us out into a bright future.
We are literally standing on sacred ground.
This is sacred ground.
Connection.
This is sacred ground. That's right, sacred ground. And our people need to appreciate sacredness. You know, they need to appreciate us as sacred people when we are in our right minds. Because some of these symbols represent Ma'at, the ancient Kemetic tradition of righteousness and justice. The work that we're doing around reparations really is ancestors screaming out and crying out for justice. Not only for ourselves, really, but for all people who have been oppressed. This has been a perennial question in our community.
Civil rights activist Dr. Ron Daniels, a leader of the National African American Reparations Committee, illuminates the long-standing history behind our continued struggle for reparations and the movement today.
And in the United States, more than anywhere else, we have that loss of memory, because only in the United States was there a conscious effort to de-Africanize the Africans systematically. When I was speaking to the Movement for Black Lives the other day, and I often say, we cannot OD on blackness, because it's constantly coming at us. But when you have sites like this is Goree Island. This is Cape Coast Castle. People can go to Ghana, we can go to Senegal, but you can also go here. Right. what a site like this opens up is the conversation. Because at the end of the day, one of the most important things is if nobody ever did anything, reparations is first and foremost about our own internal repair, our own healing. So that's why we need more and more of that education in the U.S. more than anywhere else, to continue to remind ourselves who we are, but to attach it not to some chauvinist, we're against anybody. That's not the effort. We have never, ever been a people who just were for our own liberation. And we spoke up for Native Americans, we spoke up for Latinos, and we spoke up for white folk, whomever was oppressed. And it's like Martin Luther King said, I may not get there with you. It may not be in my lifetime. But since we have this notion of the continuity of our people, it doesn't really matter. As I said, one day we will all be free.
Ashe.
Ashe.
From the disparate edges of the country, Black Americans may not all agree on how reparations should be made. But as long as we have leaders like Robin Rue Simmons, Dr. Hawkins, and Dr. Daniels building functional community-based models, our fight for reparations will be realized, not only locally, but globally. Justice brought to the people who have been harmed by the generational trauma passed down from slavery, built into the framework of our nation's institutions, and systemically embedded into the fiber of this country. Repair is a step we take together, as a community, as a people, and as a movement towards justice now.